Hey everybody, I'm Terrill Patterson, owner of Relly's Hospitality. We are here in Houston, Texas at the wonderful FAO for amusement only. I just figured that out and I'm glad that I do know this. We have a wonderful panel today. We're going to be talking about the hospitality industry, the past, the present, and the future in Houston, Texas. They do have the World Cup coming as well, so I know they got some stuff that they would like to say. We have some of the best people in here, but before we go any further, we have a couple of things that I would like to say, all right? A couple of rules, I should say. So for this panel, before Càrolina introduces everybody, each person is going to speak 5 minutes about the past, the present, and the future of hospitality here in Houston. After that, we have one question for them. And then after that, we'll field the rest of the questions from you guys out here, all right? When that's done, we'll go on to the next person. Now, if you have any questions, that's only for that person, that chef, or the bartender, or the business owner, all right? So kind of keep that towards them. Now, I love you all, okay? But when we ask the questions, it's gonna be first name, last name, question, okay? Keep it to like a sentence or two. I know we are all in the industry and everybody is special, okay? But today we gotta get this information out so people can see what's going on, all right? Everybody cool with that? Yes, okay. Now, I'm gonna hand this wonderful panel over to Càrolina Sànchez. Here you go.
Thank you, Terrill. Appreciate you having this. All right, listen, I am the host of the Nightcap on Fox, and I have the pleasure and the privilege to showcase and feature different restaurants and bars and bartenders and brands on my show. I don't get to work in the industry, but I do get to highlight it, so I feel very lucky and fortunate to speak to you and ask you the questions that relate to this industry that I love and adore. So I'm gonna start introducing everyone. We got Chef Sosa in from ATL from Atlanta. He's the 2023 Relly's Hospitality Best Chef. Congrats on that. Excited to have you here and hear what the East Coast has to say about H-Town. And next to you, we have Adonis Graham, one of the co-owners of FAO HTX. Shout out to them for having this panel here. Thank you so much. And his co-owner, we've got Bronson Guiterrez. Thank you for being, oh, I'm sorry. Do you want me to say Gutierrez? Come on. The Latinas gotta come out. Also, thank you to you for having us here. Next to you, we've got Alexis Mijares. Okay, she is a bartender. She hosts events. She's a consultant, and she's opening up her own bar, Botânica, Houston, soon. And next to me, we've got Bacardi's account manager, who basically manages brand ambassadors, Devin Jason. All right, so we're gonna dive into it now. Chef, I'm gonna begin with you. We're talking about the past, present, and future. So a lot has changed since the pandemic in the restaurant industry. What is the most significant change you've seen between pre-pandemic and current times?
The most significant change is, people found out during the pandemic that they don't have to work hard no more. So you lost a lot of people that were kind of going through the emotions, not necessarily like, it's like trimming the fat, because once, we got back rolling, the people that were down, you knew, and, a lot of the times during the pandemic, I can only speak for Atlanta, but we kind of tried to stay open anyway. But, you lost so many people that decided to become insurance salesmen and, car salesmen and stuff like that, you found yourself elbow to elbow with like a real hard worker. And so you kind of like replaced 3 people that were just holding spots to like an actual like brother that's going to get it in with you, whether it's behind the bar, in the front of the house, serving, managing, or even in the kitchen.
And so today, now that we have the hard workers and the people who were just holding space out, is it harder work for those who are actually showing up every day and doing the damn job?
No, not at all. I think less is more. The attention to detail and becomes higher because now you have caring eyes versus, I'm just here to get paid. And I'm not saying that like, everybody is just all in, but I feel like we have a higher group of people that really care about this industry. Being a restaurateur, chef for 10 years at the Four Seasons, and also like working at random standalones, running a food truck, you quickly find out like one of my biggest pet peeves is I look around and somebody's got their hands on their hip. You quickly find out like people now versus back then, they're not working because they want a paycheck. They're working towards a goal. They want to be an owner. They want to be a manager, a director of some sort. And so it's kind of like you went from having a lot of kids that were just trying to get a paycheck while they were in school to people that are focused on their careers.
So what can restaurant owners do now to support their workforce and make sure that they feel the love and the support and will continue to work alongside them long term?
I think one of the major things that we have to do is we have to make sure that we don't pull that curtain back in front of our guests. I feel like we've gotten a lot more lax of late, since we all are working hard, that we do pull that curtain back and we kind of show them the inner operating of how things go. I always tell my staff and like people that I train, service is service, but you got to get through it. You don't have to always have the best day, but energy is what brings the money in. So if you're down and you're out or whatnot, it doesn't help anything, right? Service is service. Stop pulling that back. Everybody doesn't need to know that, oh man, I just worked 12 hours and I had to open and close. Like, the guests came to have fun, So keep that type of energy. I always say it's three things when we open those doors. It's either going to be a circus, it's either going to be a show, or it's going to be a dance. But regardless, we got to finish it. So if you turn it into a show, great. Jerry, great, whatever, right? But if you turn it into a circus, then, you got to play that clown for the rest of the time. You didn't get yourself set. Now you're behind the 8 ball and you're just chasing. But guess what? Got to get through it. But, on a perfect day, which we all know doesn't happen all the time, it's a beautiful dance.
All right, I'm going to open it up to anybody in the audience. See if you guys have any questions for Chef Sosa.
All right. Any of you guys have any questions here for Chef? Oh, you had a question here.
How you doing? My name is Vincent Milson. A lot of people call me Vinny. My question, and this is for the Atlanta, right? Is if you've had an opportunity to kind of go out in Houston, experience our restaurants here, and the different things, not so much clubs, but more restaurants. My question would be, what is the main differences in the nuances in the food, but also the cocktails you see coming out? Like when you look at a menu, what's something you might see here that you don't see there, something you see there you don't see here. And the reason I'm asking this is because I also work in the spirits industry as well, and that's a large part of my job to figure out, the best thing to pitch at a bar for a menu and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to know what works in Atlanta that doesn't work here, what works here that might not work in Atlanta, or if I have somebody from Atlanta in town right now, or people from other markets, what works everywhere.
So the biggest differences you see between Atlanta and Houston, but what works universally?
First of all, I would like to start by saying we are sister cities. I'm not trying to draw a line or say anybody is better than anybody. I don't want the comments.
You don't want that smoke here, baby. Nope.
But I love to eat my way through Houston. And I think that's one of the biggest differences between Houston and Atlanta. There's a lot of questions about where to go to eat in Atlanta. I think we have over 6,000 restaurants. But it's a lot of copycats. It's a lot of frizz and frail. It's not necessarily 6,000 restaurants doing it the right way. And I don't know how many restaurants y'all have here in Houston, but if I stop in the airport and say, where should I eat? Nobody even stops and says, that's a good question. Immediately they start to just name things. And that that's, I think, is one of the major differences for sure. Atlanta's known for more of its nightlife. Our scene is familiar to you guys, but I feel like it's more concentrated, and like people come to Atlanta for a different scene than what you have here in Houston. I love Sundays in Houston, but Sundays in Houston is Sunday through Monday in Atlanta. You know what I mean? So it's like we're more nightlife oriented. You guys are more, I would say, like restaurant oriented. You stay true to your roots. You stay true to the food, and you stay true to what Houston is.
Thank you for that. I would agree, though. We love our restaurants here in Houston.
Over 20 years in the hospitality industry has taught me there are a million little things that make one great experience, and we don't miss one of them. Through our competitions at our events, at Relly's, we provide premium, fully trained bartenders and nationally ranked mixologists, premium beverage services, and event management. I've serviced over 350,000 people with A-list clientele. Joined the NMSDC, National Minority Supplier Diversity Council, and started the largest series cocktail competition in the United States. I'm just a proud Flintstone guy from Michigan on a mission to create the best experiences for our clients. This is Relly's New Year 2022. We're at the Omni with the Peach Bowl inspired cocktail competition. We're often imitated, but never duplicated, because at the end of the day, at Relly's Hospitality, we only know premium.
All right. Thank you so much, Chef Sosa, for bringing in your expertise as a chef who knows all about the restaurant industry. Seated next to you, we've got Adonis Graham, one of the co-owners here at FAO HTX. Listen, you came on my show, 3 years ago, and you were talking about how FAO had just gotten started, and you had dealt with the pandemic, opened a business, and it basically went on pause for 8 to 9 months. What are the differences you see as a hospitality business owner during that time and now with a successful business in Midtown?
So one of the main differences whenever we first opened back up was Houston had this dynamic that we were a very tourist-driven city. So that's what brought in a lot of clientele from out of the state, which we always talk about it. We were checking more IDs from out of state than we were Houston ones, which was definitely a luxury for us because that really catapulted us to where people were coming in town talking about, hey, my cousin or my sister told me to, hey, come visit FAO, whenever they come in town, which is very much of a blessing for us. You know, over time, as things have really opened up, I think everyone can kind of agree it's a very saturated market whenever it comes to the bar scene. For whatever reason, a lot of people feel like they can do this, but this is a very hard industry as a whole. There's a lot of realization that comes into this, and I always say that this is one of the only industries that there's no prereqs to get into it, to where people just think because I have money, contractor, designer, I can build out a cool place, to where that's not the case. A lot of people don't understand that aesthetics are very much a part of the functionality of your business, and sometimes when people jump into this, they feel like it's an easy play because they visited places, but no, we're also a business. We have to have systems, organization, and going into this versus just saying, hey, let's throw up a flower wall or let's start popping bottles and all these things that has become very much of a chokehold on this city, to where that's where the copy and paste comes into it. And on top of that, there's a lot of bigger spaces because we also had to have the whole 6 feet rule and all those things, which ultimately that has kind of hindered us a little bit, because whenever you have some of these places that are so big, they get 50 to 100 people in there, it doesn't look busy. So then people are kind of downplaying things. And on top of that, they're just not delivering the quality of service that they're charging these outrageous prices for, that ultimately hurts the pocket. We're not in the best of economy. So it doesn't allow people to want to visit other places, because it's so much of it's a commonality, to where here at FAO, we really focus on hospitality. And that's what the root of this industry is, where I think that that's a lost art. It's become more transactional than actual hospitality driven, where we have to think about the people and be more forward thinking of what their needs are and what their wants are, where that's just been lost in transition, to where I think that we're slowly kind of getting back in that phase, because people are making smaller venues to where they can manage these people. And you're also kind of weeding out some of the individuals because the people that are getting in here that don't know the business, like us, we've been in it since 2008, they're money people too, and they don't want to keep getting bleeded dry. So I think that that's kind of carrying over to some of their other friends that want to get into it and be like, hey, no, understand this is not that easy. You can't just open up the doors and think that people are just going to come flock in.
So that copy paste, I feel like that's so true. I mean, so many places pop up time and time again, and they get shuttered very quickly. You guys have been a staple here in Houston, in Midtown, which is a tribute to that hospitality you keep talking about. How important is it, and how do you create such a great overall experience for your guests time and time again?
Well, that's back, like he was saying, as far as the energy you bring into the space. We know that every day is not going to be a great day, but what you bring into bringing back behind the bar will ultimately cultivate and, bring people in. Energy is a big thing in this space, to where whenever you treat each and every person the exact same, make sure that you're cleaning up everything, not leaving anything out organized, to make sure that the 100th person that visited that day gets the same experience as the very first person that walked into the building. And that really can help people, find that longevity, because there's been many places since we opened up around us, underneath us, and on these blocks like that have been open and closed within 6 to 8 months. And that's ultimately because they just build out these pretty spaces and not actually taking care of people and getting back to the fundamentals of hospitality. We've worked every single position that there is, to where we took something from every time frame that we were in those positions and then ultimately put it into one big concept, to where this is our bread and butter. I can do this in my sleep, to where most people don't understand, hey, let me just offer lamb chops or whatever it may be, that people are going to want that. No, there's still fundamentals that need to go into running your venue.
What do you think the future of Houston hospitality holds?
I like to think that we're headed into a better direction. I think it's still going to take some time, in my personal opinion, just because we're still weeding out some of the individuals that don't really know what they're doing. But this is a hustling town. There's always going to be people that are going to want to do more. And I think that conversations like this help bring more awareness and the realizations of things that people think whenever they walk into venues, but aren't self-consciously saying, hey, you know what, maybe I don't want to go support these people, because a lot of people are just followers and they just want to be in the cool place. And because there's a lot of people that that's where they should be, where ultimately there's times where there's not a lot of people in here, but the hospitality that we give to each person, the couples, and making sure that they feel like that special individual, that's what ultimately gives the word of mouth. And there's nothing better than word of mouth recommendations. You can do all the TikTok videos and everything, which we've had our luxuries and benefit off of, but there's nothing more that's pleasing than to hear somebody say, hey, my so-and-so told me I should come check this FAO out because they had such a good time. Memorable experiences are what gain longevity in this industry.
Does anybody have a question for Adonis?
All right. Do we have a question for? Does anybody have a question for? Oh, hold on 1 second. State your name and all that.
Santiago, and my question is, what's the process of getting started? What advice can you give people out there, not only about how to give people good customer service, but what's your guys' strategy? Because the hardest part, like you said, was the beginning. So if you can elaborate a little bit on strategies or things that you did to get yourself started.
Yeah, I think that getting back to the basics and actually working through the systems, I mean, like any job in any profession, you have to understand the why of why you're doing certain things. And I think if people humble themselves and actually be a little bit patient on the process, that's where you can actually learn a lot about what goes into this business and actually owning and operate things, but also keeping your ears to the ground and actually learning all the things that go into it. Because at the end of the day, this is still a business. When we experienced the COVID situation, yeah, we would have loved it to kind of pop off, but I like to think that that was a blessing in disguise for us, because we understood the whole process of cutting costs, minimizing our labor and all those things, which ultimately, as we start to progress, and now I've been here for 4 years, we still use those same principles and tactics and ethics and all those things to make sure that we know that we're going to be in here for the long haul, because we don't just get frugal with our money and just start spending on all the new things and the trend things, where it's all about foundation. And that's where understanding that foundation will ultimately get you to the next step.
Thank you, Adonis.
Absolutely.
All right, Bronson, the co-owner here at
Hello.
FAO. Hey, darling. All right, so Adonis spoke a lot about the guest experience, but as a hospitality business owner, how do you collaborate and share the resources with your workers to make sure that this is also a wonderful place to be at and actually work toward the vision that you've set out and the mission you've set out for your business?
So the biggest thing is whenever you have a big staff, communication is the number one thing. You got to get everybody on the same page. They got to understand that this is our goal and this is what we're going to do to get to this goal. The more that you're hands-on with your team, the better result that you're going to get all across the board. It doesn't matter like what job it is, whether you're a manager, bar back, bartender, door guy, even like the valet guys downstairs. Everybody has to be on the same understanding as far as like what do we want to deliver and what do we want people to feel when they walk into our place, from the jump out of the car to when they get ID'd downstairs to when they walk up to the, oh, wow, this place is cool. And then, hello, how are you doing? Like that whole thing, it all ties into where you feel wanted. And as an individual, whenever you're spending money, you want to feel, like you're part of like, the party instead of just being a number. Because at the end of the day, it's the more that you can connect with your people, the more experiences you're going to gain, the memorable ones, and the more repeat business that you're going to get from individuals from that. Because now they look at it, and if I have 10 places to choose from, I'm going to go to this one where they know my name. I could spend $10,000 at this spot, but they only know me as the guy that spends $10,000. They don't know me as the name. This guy, he does this. Oh, I know that he likes this drink. Those little things people don't realize. Those are important. Especially like in the club industry, from what I've seen, like people buy bottles left and right, but they ain't nobody. Like they could walk up there the next day, not buy a table, and you won't even be known. And that's a problem. It shouldn't be like that. We have to get back to initially taking care of people, but it starts with everybody that's working on your team. If you have one bad apple, it's going to ruin everything. Because if that person works 4 hours and they have a bad attitude, it's going to affect everybody. Every single person that they get to talk to, boom, it's a failure. So the more you communicate with your staff, be on the same page and be supportive of each other. The more we can support each other, some people need to be lifted up. Some individuals, I'm going to speak for me and this guy right now. I don't need a pat in the back. I don't need you to tell me good job. Because when you say that, I'm like, hey, what's next? Let's do this. Let's do this. Because I'm going to continue to do that over and over and over. Not in a robotic sense, but the fact that I've been conditioned and I've worked in so many different industries that it's always been the same goal. You always got to take care of people. But first thing is you got to understand the goal and what is our goal as a company? What do we want to deliver to people? And that's just like in a nutshell. It's not like magic or anything. It's very simple. It's just if you weren't brought up like that already, it's very difficult. But it's easy to learn that, and it takes consistency and practice and keep doing the same things over and over. As boring as it is, it's important because once you set your foundation, you have something to build on and you can keep growing from there. But it's the little things that will motivate you to say, man, I'm doing a good job. I want to keep doing this and see how far I can go, and it starts with your team.
It sounds like you're very emotionally intelligent, because in order to really have solid communication with your staff to provide such a great overall experience to your guests, you have to know like, oh man, John's having a bad day today. He's going to ruin it for everyone. Like, hey, bud, what's going on? Do you actually take the time to get to know everybody individually, their home life and everything like that, in order to make sure that it is a safe and supportive work-life balance?
I feel like for us, we have a unique situation because, like I said, a lot of the jobs that I've worked at, I never really worked with the owners ever. Every job I've ever been at, I've never worked with the owner. I've never seen an owner bartend. I've never seen an owner bus tables. I've never seen an owner clean restrooms. I've never seen any owners do anything that we do, like on a daily basis. So our staff already sees that. And when they see that, oh no, my owner's doing this with me, like it motivates them.
Bronson and Adonis, y'all be scrubbing toilets.
I do everything. I don't care. It doesn't matter. To me, if it saves time, I know I can do it, but I also have a lot of training. I've been doing this for a long time, but also like when I got into this industry, I was 20, 25 years old. I left corporate America and I wanted to do this. So I have a passion for this because I initially just want to take care of people. When I'm back there, like to see a smile on someone's face, like it means everything to me. It means that I'm doing something right. I'm connecting with you. And it's rare to find that, you know? So I know that we do lead as far as like setting a good example. And everybody in our staff, as small as it is, they know that when it gets real, we're there.
He had to censor himself. Do we have any questions for Bronson?
We do have one question first. Hold on.
Okay.
I need your first name, last name, occupation, question.
All right, my name's Lupe Jordan. I work with a company called Sake Ono. We're defining how sake is perceived out here in the market. So, Devin, I've known you since I moved to Houston, and I've come to FAO a lot. And I think, I guess what I had the question is when you look at the future of not just hospitality, but just your individual concepts you guys own and operate, what are you going to do different in 2025, 2026? Bring people in with a different, okay, you have this cool glass for this cocktail. Okay, this cocktail has dry ice in it, and smoke comes out of it. Okay, this cocktail comes in, I don't know, whatever, you get what I'm saying. So, what are we, looking at as far as, trend-wise, when we say we're doing this different service, obviously plays a big part. I think that's a huge differentiator when you talk about guest experience. But it's being pioneers in the industry, what's next? How do we redefine kind of the future of this?
So this is my opinion, and it's a long answer. So for the future, we are moving in a fast-paced environment where social media is probably one of the most important tools that we should be taking advantage of. And that goes for everybody, from the people that are working there, the businesses. If you just don't take advantage of those opportunities, people are just not seeing it. People are more on their phones than anything. They're driven by that. So I know that what we try to do here to showcase our space, which doesn't work for every establishment, but for here, we try to just show the versatility of running different events, doing off the wall, one-offs that just show hey, you can come to a bar for an event and not be so driven to where, hey, we're going there just to get drunk, you know? I know that the trend is hey, you got to get in front of people's faces. And the only way you're going to be able to do it is you got to do it on the phone. So as much as I hated getting in front of cameras and doing videos, it's the more consistent that we can do as far as in our markets and get it out there in front of people, because the more that you're doing it, the more inclined they're I'm going to stop by and see that, or that's a unique event. I want to go check that out, instead of just open the doors and as is, and we'll see what we can do. You can make creative cocktail menus. You can do all the jazz and all that, but just remember that everybody else is doing that same thing. So you have to think a little bit more outside the box. But I know that social media is one of the most powerful tools, and the more that we get into it, the more that we're going to have to rely on it, because that's going to be the one-all be-all for information, whether we like it or not. I would like to think that, people would do their research, but it isn't like that anymore. All it takes is one influencer to come in, and if they had a good time, all of a sudden everybody's showing up to it. But it doesn't need to be that way, because we can all do this, and it doesn't take long. It's just a minute video, just talk about something, but you got to get it in front of your audiences. And the best way to do that is, like I said, utilize the social media platforms, showcase what you're going to be doing. Always be evolving. Don't just be complacent and just, hey, this is the menu and we're never going to change it. Dare to try new things, because you never know. I don't know what your palate's like. I don't know what your palate's like. But at the end of the day, if I keep trying new things, which is what we try to do here a lot, we drop a seasonal menu every season. We've been doing that for 4 years now. Our cocktail menu is, I don't know, it's 50-something cocktails. but we're still testing the waters. And the more that you can test and put that out there, it'll show your creativity, your versatility, but also show that, hey, I'm trying to figure out what the trend is. Maybe we figure it out just by throwing something off the wall and it just catches fire, because you never know unless you try it. I even know, like in your line of work for sake, that's a very unique market, and there are so many different types of sake out there, that a lot of people don't know, and it takes education. Just small little videos that show this is this, this is this. It will help out tremendously, because you believe it or not, a lot of people just don't know. They're unaware, but the more that we can get the information out there and like do our part to get in that little social media cloud, the more we're going to be relevant to people's eyes and be like, let me go to that spot, But if you don't do anything, then you're just going to be sitting in the dark. Meanwhile, everybody's just constantly adapting to what the new norm is.
And that new norm is social media, baby. It sure is. Thank you, Bronson. Appreciate
Thank you.
you. Alexis Mijares, baby, just like Bronson has been in all facets of the hospitality industry, has been behind the bar, has with the pop-ups as a consultant, building menus, and now on the venture of creating your own bar, becoming an owner. Congrats on that. But as someone who's worked behind the bar, what would you say are the key issues that workers, especially bartenders, are facing today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, especially coming into ownership as a bartender first, right? I'm a decade into this craft and I've worked in every kind of concept. And I occupy kind of in the high craft space, which generally gets a little bit more acceptance or maybe respect as a career path. I think the pandemic really put a magnifying glass on how much we didn't look at hospitality as a career. And I want to say point blank, anywhere you exist in the hospitality space, it's a valid career path. You are valid. You are not only valid, but you are hyper important to the social ecosystem, right? We saw that too. Everything shuttered and people didn't know what to do about that, right? But then you also told people who did take their craft seriously that they weren't that important, their bodies weren't that important, and if they didn't like it, go do something else. And we lost a lot of people who are really talented because of it. So while I certainly respect what you had to say, I think there's another side of that coin where, sure, some of the people who are not lifers dropped out, but we also lost a lot of lifers who had to put their bodies, their families, their ability to survive first, and they didn't come back. As a consultant, that's the number one thing I've talked to owners entering this space about is there's a labor gap, right? There's a skilled labor gap. There's an educational gap. There's a mentorship gap, because we lost a lot of really talented people who said, oh, I can actually go sustain a paycheck with benefits, with all of this. And I don't have to work till 2 a.m. and I'm not working for a minimum wage, and I don't have to gamble my money. So I think really what the next generation, what we have to do as business owners is figure out how to make this industry more equitable, right? How do we put the community first as a whole? I think it starts with more lifers getting into ownership. I agree. It's a great time to be a consultant. I got a lot of people with money who have no idea what they're doing. Happy to pay me to teach them what to do. Yeah. But there's something more impactful when you have someone who has lived it and who will sit in the trenches with their team. I'm sure you guys definitely can agree with that, right? It's different, right? It's different when you have that source and that main line to ownership, right? So a big part of what I'm committed to, one, I'm always a kind of advocate in the hospitality space for equity and inclusion and autonomy. I think it all comes down to autonomy. When you let people advocate and decide for themselves what they need, you can figure out how to mentor them better. I sit down with each individual staff member and ask them, like, what's your pathway, so that we can help figure out what those mile markers are. We can set goals. As a young business owner, I don't have the same money as a private equity firm coming in and scooping something up. But what I do have is lived experience, and I have doors, and I have access, and there's equity beyond money too, right? I allow my team to sit in on meetings to demystify that pathway to ownership. My best mentors didn't just hand me seeds, they taught me how to like garden for myself. And that's why I think I'm able to be, 32, opening up my own bar in, a high spot of the city. River Oaks it's risky, it's expensive. It's a little scary, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little nervous, but I think a healthy amount. And I think I just want to provide all of the options that maybe weren't always provided for me, right? By just giving people the pathways that they want to go down. So I think just creating more space for people to learn, to get what they need, to kind of fortify their careers. I think that's the best thing you can do for bartenders, is give them the stepping stones to advocate for themselves. And we got to figure out how to make this industry more equitable. Honestly, that's really what it comes down to. It's that simple.
It sounds simple, but that sounds expensive. It sounds like, baby, you helping me learn, so I'm gonna dip. So how are you making sure that your workers, if you don't have the money because you don't come from private equity, are able to get the benefits that they need, are able to live above minimum wage, and pursue a career that gives them more than...
Well, first, I include them in the conversation when we're sitting down and deciding what is going to keep you here, keep you steady, what's going to keep you engaged with me. It's different for each individual. Some individuals want to learn strictly about ownership. Some want to learn more about the kitchen element side of things, right? Of how we produce things in the back of house. Some want just skill. They want knowledge, right? So I really sit down with the individual and ask them, how do you need to be mentored to get to where you need to go? I don't want to keep anybody forever, right? My job as a mentor is to give you air to raise your wings, not clip them. And I think too many owners get their hands on some talent and they want to keep it forever. That's not your job, right? Your job is to really grow people, hold on to them as long as it makes sense for each other, and then let them go be great somewhere else and let someone else new in. And that's actually how we're going to feed back some of this labor gap that we currently have, where you have a lot of just gap in knowledge and that mentorship, right? So it's not necessarily the most profitable, right? It's certainly relying on me to have a business partner who understands that while we certainly are business and we need to turn a profit, we also need to include our staff in that, because the more that they feel included into the concept, they're going to take ownership of it too in their own way, right? And that ownership might not be like on paper in the LLC, but it might be in a department, right? It might be in something they're really interested in. And so I just ask them, like, what do they need to feel satiated while they're with me? And then I do what I can to provide that for them. Or if I can't provide that for them, I put them on a path with somebody else who can.
Does anybody have a question for Alexis? All right, we got Courtney here.
All right, cheers. Hi, guys.
Hello.
So, I'm a native Houstonian, and I've seen many buildings like change names and change owners over the time. So, similar to what Adonis and Bronson said in regards to how you guys were doing things for Houston, for you, like coming from behind the bar, what was the moment that made you say, I want to open my own space? Because like you answered one of my questions in regards to like what I look for anyways when I go to a bar to visit my bigger bartenders. I'm not particularly about like what's popular. I go for what I know and who I know. So at what point for you was it that you're like, I want to open my own space?
I think there's a part of me that always kind of wanted that, just because like you can't tell me nothing. So I really, like, if I'm going to be in a space, I kind of have to own it. I'm the difficult employee. Like I want my autonomy in a space. Ownership is very like concrete and definite, and that scared me for a long time, especially while I was still going through my 20s, trying to like decide, can I settle down enough to be solid for other people? So I went the consulting route, which allowed me a lot of freedom. Through that, though, I also was able to identify a lot of like ongoing issues, and really it came down to me kind of being an advocate in this arena, and then sitting with a mentor being extremely frustrated about like not seeing the model. And he was like, go do it, just go do it. And I was like, what do you mean go do it? And he's like go be about it. And so that's what I did. I was like, you know what, fine, you're right, I gotta go be about it. And I settled myself in, and I'd taken the last couple of years to really get ready to settle in. I take it very serious, like leadership and what being a rock for my team and what my community is going to need from me. But it was really, I had the audacity to do it. You know, like I really just was like, you know what, fine, I'm not seeing what I want, and I want to challenge more people. The best way for me to challenge them is by showing them a model that actually works and breaks the shit that I don't agree with. Right. And I think that's the best way you can ever do anything, is like show, we can talk a lot of things, but when you actually can show people something different, that's when real change starts to happen. So I put like all of my money where my mouth is.
Alexis, thank you so much, darling.
Thank you.
Congrats on the new venture. All right, we're moving on to Devin. Jason, I've seen him behind the bar. He's been on my show before, but now he is an account manager for Bacardi, the brand. This is a very different responsibility, and it's a different area and arena of the hospitality industry. So what role do you think brands have in collaborating and partnering with bars and restaurants in Houston?
So in my opinion, I believe that the brands, we need to actually help facilitate education. A lot of people consume because of what they know or what they think they know. And a lot of brands are in the business of mirrors and smoke and mirrors. So a lot of things don't appear what they seem to be. So in the whiskey industry, you might see straight bourbon whiskey, or whiskey without the E. And the cognac, what's the difference between cognac and brandy? Tequila, 100% agave, 0 additives, when you can actually put additives in there up to a certain percentage. So it's just a lot of different educational factors to let the consumers know what they're consuming, and give them that educational piece to make a confident buy on what they want to consume. And as far as more education, is education to the staff. The staff, I like to say the staff is our ambassadors when we're not there. So when people order cocktails, they go to the bartender. What type of cocktail or what type of brand would you like? I feel like drinking tequila. What would you recommend? That brand or that staff is going to go to whatever brand or whatever education he knows that he can fall back on immediately, because he's confident with that knowledge. And I think that's our duty to actually help facilitate educational pieces to each and every staff member, so they can know what we are actually selling and why we're selling it and what the purpose is behind everything. And also, I come from behind the bar, so I know how things work. I used to be a buyer. So we also have to stop feeding the beast. What that means is like a lot of brands drop money on accounts or bars or restaurants because, hey, you do a lot of this tequila volume. Here's X amount of money. Make sure we stay here and here, and then you don't see them again, right? And that's becoming the game plan for a lot of brands. And I think that brands need to get back to what made them the brands they are and start speaking and touching the people that made them who they are. So with that being said, it's like the bartenders are our number one ambassadors, the advocates. But when a person, a brand, a supplier or a brand comes into an establishment, they only talk to the Adonises and the Bronsons of the world, and also the Alexis of the world, right? That's coming up. So those are the people they're appealing to, because yeah, they're the shot callers, but they're not touching the ground. They're not on the field. And that what makes a big difference in my mind. So in this new role I'm in, that is my game plan, is to actually focus on education and focus on consistency with being in the market. You're going to see me, if you're one of my accounts, you're not just going to see me once a quarter, twice a year. You're going to see me bi-weekly, weekly, if that be. Just depends on our relationship I'm building. And I think that if we get back to just actually feeding what actually works back in the day, because now, yes, Adonis and Bronson, you spoke on it. Social media is leading the way. Like, yes, you do need to be present in a social media presence to educate people of what's going on where. But once they get into the spot, we need to put the phones down. We need to actually be in the moment, right? And that's what word of mouth used to come from. Like back in the day, you knew what spot to go to. You go on the spot, like you said, Chef, you come here, it's a plethora of spots to eat because everybody has their preference, because the food is not lacking here. It's the hospitality. Service is on point. And what I mean is service is the act, but hospitality is what we do in that act, right? So people are perfecting service out here, but they're not perfecting hospitality. And I think as a brand, we can stop feeding the beast, stop feeding, like just dumping monies to the owners and the bar managers, and start giving back to the actual staff that lead the way. That's the front line, I like to call them. The one that's taking the shots, the one that has to deal with the consumer, the angry guy, the one that has to actually build regulars for your establishment. Like I like to say, nobody's going to protect you if you haven't been protecting them. So protect your staff, protect your brands. In my case, protect your brands, educate people, because a lot of people have miseducation because of that gap of the industry allowing miseducation because of wording, like I said, wording on the bottle, or just not proper education, or leading with influencers, like you said. So I just believe if we just get back to what worked before, social media and the smartphones, and touching back on that a lot, but also changing and like also being adaptable for the future as well, I think we'll get to a better place, in my opinion.
Okay, so you talked about like you say we should step away from just dumping money on the owners, right? Yeah. These owners are different because they do actually work very intimately with their staff. How do you, like, what kind of investments should you be making in the staff that is promoting your particular brands? Like you say education, is it education for the staff members? Is it for the guests that are coming in? Are you doing workshops? Are you doing pop-ups? Like what exactly is the route you should be taking and that you're going to be taking as Bacardi's account manager?
So right now, as it is right now, the route we're taking is education to the staff, because education to the staff goes to the consumer, of course. But my investment back is giving back to where I come from. I came from behind the bar. I started serving tables in 2012 on Mother's Day at Red Lobster in Pearland, Texas. And it's not there anymore. You know, so like all the way up to a GM of a spot called Doberman's that closed down due to COVID, right? Yep. So I just think like investing in, like, I want to give one thing though. Investing in who you hire. So for me, what I'm going to do going forward, when I get in positions, I will hire. You can't train hospitality, but you can hire to identify those who are hospitable, right? So I want to actually get back into like hiring from within the industry. Like I'm from the industry. I come from with a different mindset than most brand representatives and suppliers come. A lot of people in my position, they come from other brands, or they come from the supplier side, which would be like your distributors like Southern Glazers or Republic or whatnot. And they all have the same solution-based process, right? They're all trained the same way. And luckily, I've been blessed with this opportunity to try to like change the game a little bit, because I do come from behind the bar. So I just want to like give back to the bar, because I know that's what make a big difference. When I was behind the bar, I know I had control over the menus. I had control over how much product we bought. I could have control over what cocktails we were putting on the menus. And I know a lot of people out there have that control, and brands and suppliers don't understand that. And also what I would say for us is investing in feelings, right? Back into people's feelings. Like people, like Maya Angelou used to say, people may not remember what you did for them, but they will always remember how you made them feel. So if we get back into making people feel at home, I know everybody has that grandmother or that family member that the house it may not be the prettiest, it may not have all the newest TVs, the new game systems, but when you go there, you feel great about three things really: convenience, because she's gonna make sure you got everything you need. Also, she's gonna be, you know what I'm saying, Mark? Grandma always makes sure you're great. And also, she's gonna be adaptable to what you need. And then she's always gonna give you quality. So she's always gonna give you good quality. She's not gonna undercut you, even though the ambiance may not be the best, but you know you're getting the best from your grandma. So if we get back to just investing in the people we hire and investing in the actual bar staff, and they will give back to the field, and I think we'll get back to a better place in hospitality. That's just my opinion.
I love it. So Bacardi about to be y'all's grandma. That's what I heard. All right, do I got anybody in the audience who has a question for Devin?
Anybody have a question?
Dang, nobody wants to be a brand ambassador, baby. All right, come on, chef.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
You want a question? He got a question.
So, as a brand ambassador that comes in and connecting with the dream that you have of like connecting with the owners or whatnot, like how do you put that in place? What's your step one? What's your step two? What's your step three? And how can an owner connect with you?
So the owner, for me, it's easy to find me because I'm going to come to you. So I'm going to come to you. I'm going to come find you. If you're on my account list, you're on my account list for a reason. Like you're in the realm of the eyes. But I've added accounts due to personal relationships or word of mouth, right? So it's all about the word of mouth because I don't go on Instagram. I'm not a social networker. I don't be on Instagram. So I wouldn't know what the coolest thing is. So it's just about doing what's right, having that authentic or organic relationship with your consumer. They'll contact me about or somebody in the industry like, hey, this is a cool spot. And I'm going to come check it out myself because of word of mouth from vetable resources that I deem and I respect their opinions. So it's just about doing what's right, honestly.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry,
We got
You good. You good.
All right, we have this last,
Oh, hold on. Benny got a question for you.
Okay. About probably more for the person who hires the staff. If I'm hiring a new staff member, bartender, floor person, whatever it might be, what is the best way to go about making sure that the person is actually passionate about hospitality as opposed to passionate just about money? Because I think some of the hospitality issues that we see are because I think a lot of the floor people, you can have now the newer bartenders coming in who are here for money. Kind of like you hear about those school teachers who are just at school for money, right? So they're not really there to teach the kids. But in our situation, in our industry, what you find is a lot of people working who are not there for the passion of hospitality like I see coming from you right now, right? You have a true passion. What's the best way to find those great people that'll help push somebody's business forward? Like she's opening business.
Who wants to answer that?
I think passion attracts passion. So put it on the line, put your culture on the line. Let people know what the culture of your company is and just ask them if they're going to align to that. And then be prepared to say, hey, this isn't the space for you. Go be great somewhere else. It's just not going to be with me. And that's okay. Not everybody has to fit together, but be clear on who you are, who your company is, what you want, and match that energy. And you're going to get the energy you want back.
There comes a time in every bartender's life. The blood, the sweat, the tears. The creativity, the mindset. The entertainment, the fun. The fire in their hearts to do better, build more, create more. The shake, the pinnacle of every bartender's career, defines who they are. Crowds will gather, people will watch. This is Relly's Moya.
All right, Devin, thank you so much. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to scoot you out of here because I'm inviting Terrill Patterson in here, the owner of Relly's Hospitality, to wrap this up and answer the last couple of questions. All right, Mr. Patterson. Well, first of all, thank you for putting this on and hosting this event. All right, so from the Atlanta hospitality scene, you've seen a lot, and because of Relly's Hospitality, you've been able to tour many major cities in the U.S. Based on these experiences, what are the key factors that make a city's hospitality scene thrive?
Okay, so what I think helps make a city's hospitality scene thrive is a togetherness. Okay, a lot of people and a lot of businesses kind of work independently. Okay, even within the building, the back of the house works independently from the front of the house. The front of the house works independently from the managers. Everybody in the building is working independently with the customers that are coming in. We actually have to start thinking that everybody is family so that we all work together and not independently. Okay? Mm-hmm. So if we all work together, there is no gaps. There is all training all the time, and nobody gets left behind. In order to do something like that, you would have to train your staff from the very beginning in a whole new way. So I know when I was serving and bartending, every restaurant I went to had their own training manual, right? But they only had it for separate departments. Of course, you have to do that. It's like the automotive industry. You got to have your separate departments to make one whole car. But we have to try to change that and get everybody on the same page and try to work together. It's a little easier when you're opening up a restaurant and you can have all the trainings together. I know all y'all open up restaurants too. So when you have the training all together and everybody's sitting in the same room learning the same things, and then the small breakout sections, instead of everybody just learning everything separate all together the whole time, then that's when you build all of that love and all of that expertise in one, and then you have a whole culture, and that's how you can change the hospitality scene that fast. Cohesion.
All right, so as I mentioned, you've been able to take this on the road to multiple cities across the country. So what are the national trends that you're seeing shape the hospitality scene today?
Well, social media has done a lot.
Baby, that is the word I'm hearing tonight. Social media. You better use it.
Social media. Oh my goodness. It's forced some restaurants, some businesses to move in another direction. Some of them can't be just straight traditional, or they get left behind. They can't just do one thing and not have a social media manager, to start pushing their product out to everyone else. If you don't move with the time, you're gonna get left behind, basically. I kind of lost where I was at. What were you saying?
Okay, I have to bring this up because it's one thing that I do hate about the industry in general. So many people come in with money, mm-hmm. and they build an Instagrammable spot. Mm-hmm. And instead of the food being good, the drinks being good, it's just a vibe. Mm-hmm. It is a pretty place to take a photo at, but the food is trash, it's dry as hell. Them drinks ain't craft, okay? But they came in with money from Saudi Arabia, wherever the heck, and they decided they were going to pop it up in a nice little spot here, mm-hmm. in a prime location in Houston, because they mm-hmm. got it like that, and they've been to nice places that have that. So for those in the industry who actually know about craft cocktails, who have studied it, who know their way around the kitchen like Chef Sosa, how do they compete with big money and a beautiful scene?
Oh, that's easy. Have the best staff and the best food. When you got all the money, all they doing is building aesthetic. They put all that stuff in there, so it is social media. You go in there, All the ladies take the pictures. All the guys are there because all the ladies are there. That's why you got $70 lamb chops on the menu for 3 lollipops, and it ain't even all that, right?
Baby,
But
small ass lollipops.
the little lollipop lamb chops.
I hate them.
But the way that the normal person, the person that's in the industry that doesn't get all that extra money and has to take the loans out to get the building and don't get all the money that they need, so then they got to open up early and they don't have this and they don't have that. It's going back to what I said, is training everybody together. It's training. So whenever somebody comes in, every time they come in, it's the same exact thing. When I leave the house, I come to FAO, I'm already trained to put in the code to come upstairs, and the elevator is not going to work until this place is open. You know what I'm saying? When I get here, I know it's going to be fire cocktails, and I'm going to get great service, and they got their own style of service. You know what I mean? So I know what I'm coming into. Those other ones with the DJs, well, everybody has DJs, but with the grass walls and all that type of stuff, they don't care about the staff. They just care about beautiful people, beautiful women, beautiful men, greeting you and just saying hello. They don't care about the service. This is the hospitality, the biggest thing, what we're all about. So like I said before, this is that industry that when you walk into the building, you walk in with nothing. You come in, you have a great time, you spend a couple $100, and then you leave again with nothing. So you got to have the best experience possible. I'm not going to go back after I went and spent $70 on some lamb chops, you know, and they're overcooked and the chimichurri ain't great. We got chefs. I know chefs, so the chimichurri ain't great. You know what I'm saying? It might be canned. I don't know. Or maybe he's just that good. I don't know how it comes. I'm in the bar. But once you get your trainings, you got to beat it in there. Once you get your trainings together, nobody can compete. Those restaurants will close as they always do. They're here, then they're gone. It's simple. If you have a very great product, you will stay open. When shit hits the fan, your community will come out and support you. When COVID hit, the restaurants that stay open were the ones that were true to the people that were around them. The ones that were just gouging people for parking, entry, hookah 60, you know, people that are doing that, you're not going there. But I got a couple $100. I'm going to go to the corner spot and I'm going to have that Philly cheesesteak that's always the same for the past 20 years because I know my dollar is going to do a lot more there than anywhere else.
All right.
I hope I answered that one.
No, you answered it. All right. So
I got a little emotional,
we got
guys.
to train, create a family, which I feel like you echoed what everybody here has said, essentially, like really create that family, drive in the mission, and provide a top-notch service, hospitality with great food, great experience, the fun, kind of like here at FAO.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Terrill. All right.
Thank you.
You have closing thoughts for?
Yes, I do have closing thoughts. Is there any questions?
Any
None?
questions?
All right.
Oh, come on. Nick's
Cool
got a
beans.
question. What's up, baby?
I'll ask a question.
Oh.
My name's Nicholas Newton, bartender from Atlanta. What are your top 5 cities for hospitality?
If Houston ain't on there,
All right,
you gonna
my
get
top
kicked off your
five.
own panel.
My
baby.
top 5 for hospitality. I'm gonna do it in order. 5. 5. I go Miami. Miami's good. You know, people look good. Smells a little funny there. Drinks
Not
are
you
high.
talking about aesthetics when we just said aesthetics ain't it. But continue.
But I mean, you know, anyway. So Miami. 4. I'm gonna do Chicago. Chicago dope.
Maple
3.
and Ash.
3. Oh, Maple and Ash, yeah. The contestant who won is from Maple and Ash.
Stop.
The national
My
cocktail
favorite restaurant in the
competition.
world. Okay, 3.
3. We got what is it? Yeah, Texas. Put y'all in the middle.
Texas.
Houston. We got Houston, Texas at number 3. Turn up. Houston, Texas.
Let me hear 2 and 1
Number
real
2,
quick.
we're gonna put New York up there. All right, best hospitality in this bad boy. And number 1, I would say the best hospitality, even though, so like when I say this, is because I know this panel is about the hospitality industry, how it is before, how it is now, what we could do for the future, right? It's not like these places here or any other city is trash. You know,
You
it's
avoided
great.
the question.
It's
Come
still
on.
good.
Who's
I'm about to
number
get
one?
there. I'm about to get there. The hospitality is still great. We just need to be better everywhere, right? Houston hospitality is still great, or places like this wouldn't be here. Just gotta get better.
Who is number one?
Number one is drum roll. No drum roll. Atlanta, man.
All right, this was biased. This was biased from the start.
What you
Biased
mean?
from the
Who was
start.
number one? But wait, here it is. That's the answer for me. You know, I could have said Detroit. I'm from Detroit. But I picked Atlanta because even though we have a lot coming in, we still have our staples that I really do love. And when I walk into there, it's like Lagrota is crazy. Your service is bananas there. You know, you can still go to Bones. You still have Marcel's. You have a holiday bar. You know, we have those signature places, okay? And that's what I love. And the food is good.
All right, Mr. Patterson, I'm just going to say that I disagree. You are in Houston, and baby, I got my own staples too, including FAO and
Look,
soon
I gave y'all
Botânica.
number 3.
And baby, even catbirds, okay? You know what I'm saying? I'm down with the get down and don't come for H-Town.
Look, the next time when I come, I'll go out to eat.
Yeah,
I didn't get to eat yet.
He's talking noise without even having eaten here in Houston, okay? It's fine, but I'm glad you got us at least in your top 5.
Yes, top 5. There's a lot of. I go to a lot of cities, a whole lot of cities. But Houston hospitality is dope. Like, it was fun everywhere I went. People were like, it was a vibe. I even went to this place that
This place?
Yeah, it was a junkie. I went to the junkie place.
My man
Social
said the
junkie, urban junkie.
All right, let's
I went
open
there, it
up
was
a
nice.
Q&A. Anybody in the audience have questions for any of the panelists up here, including Terrill Patterson? Oh, Courtney's
Okay.
eating. She's just clapping. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank y'all so much. No, truly thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you to Adonis and Bronson, please, for having us here, hosting this panel in your space. I know we're getting ready for a competition, right? What's happening?
Yes, we are about to do our season opener of the Relly's Moya National Cocktail Competition in just a moment, where that winner will represent Houston, Texas, in Atlanta, October the 6th, facing the winners from across the country.
Amazing.
That's what we got going on now. I will like to say also thank you all for coming out and being on this panel. Just being in this industry and trying to do the best that I can as a person has helped me get in touch with people like y'all. All right, I know y'all don't really know me. I mean, y'all know me a little bit. I know this man here. That's my guy right there. I met you on social media. I met you on social media, Devin, and all that. So I really do appreciate all of y'all for being here. And Houston's hospitality industry is dope. And I'm glad I got to do this here.
You'll have to be back. Thank y'all.
Thank you. I'll see you guys next time. All right. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
We can get a DJ hit me.